right, let's talk some shop. This is Travis in Northern California. I had a few people inquire about my Factory 5 build, so I thought, you know what, I'll throw up a video, talk about the car, kind of be transparent on it, things that went right, things that went wrong, things I'm kind of fine-tuning in. If you're thinking about building the car, or maybe you have a kit on order, you can kind of take this video for what it's worth and maybe get some ideas for your build. A couple disclaimers: I'm not a professional mechanic by all means, just a weekend warrior guy. This is the first car that I built from the chassis up in my life, so take it for what it's worth on that. This is not the only way to build these. There's tons of builds out there. This is just kind of what I came up with. And a lot of these modifications that you see on the car were taken from guys on the Factory 5 forums. So, you know, this is just kind of what I came up with and my formula. I got about 1,000 miles on the car right now, so I got a pretty good idea what this car is about. I've driven it in 50-degree weather, 90-degree weather, so I got some pretty good temperature swings as well to kind of get a feel for it. So I'm going to walk you guys from the front to the rear of the car. We'll talk about the exterior. I'm going to talk about the interior, the cockpit. I'm going to talk about the motor and what I went with. I'm going to put it up on the lift afterwards and walk under the car just to kind of give you a good visual of what this car is about. So let's get started and we'll start talking about the front here. All right, let's talk about the front. Front, pretty simple setup. Didn't do anything crazy with this thing. You got your Cobra emblem in the center. That's a Finish Line product there. Headlights, I did the tri-bar headlights, the Lucas tri-bar headlights. Vent screens are from Breeze, Mark Breeze product. The Factory 5 overriders I did in the front there, and I put some fog lights down below, and they work okay. They're not super great, but they they kind of fill in down there, but they're definitely not crazy bright. I did put this. I apologize for the flashlight, but this camera just is not super great in dark conditions. So I did, this right here is from Michael Everson. This is his PC cells that goes inside the nose cone here. And it's been really good. I really like it. It kind of finishes off the radiator area. It might even help with cooling a little bit. And I also put a stainless radiator mesh cover on top of the radiator. But aside from that, that's about it for the front of the car. All right, let's talk about the side 427 emblem. Got that from Finish Line Accessory. And side vent is the Factory 5 upgraded piece they sell. It's been painted the color of the car. Side pipes here are Gaston pipes. They're the touring version that Georgie sells. You know, so these pipes are much quieter than Factory 5 pipes, and they're a little bit quieter than the standard Gaston pipes. For me, they were what I was looking for. I didn't want anything crazy loud, and these are, I would say, tolerable to your ears. They're still loud above 3,000 RPMs if you're getting on it, but not ear piercing. And the heat shields are from Drummer Mike. Just put those on just to give your legs some protection when you get out of the car, obviously. So let's talk about the roll bars real quick. I did dual roll bars on my car. I like my wife. I want to keep her around, and anybody who's in this passenger seat for that matter. If we rolled over, I just wanted to have, for safety reasons, I went with dual roll bars. And I also did these wheelchair calf pads for headrests, just as some added neck protection. And these right here, these brackets you can get on Amazon. I just fabbed up a little 1/8 aluminum bracket in the back. It's pretty basic setup, but it's pretty functional too. Seems to be working pretty good. I did the boltless kit right here on the roll bar from 520 Speedworks, and I really like that setup. All right, let's talk about the trunk. Not a lot going on here. Pretty simple. I just put some bass boat carpeting in there. It's a gray color. I did the drop trunk, which I recommend. It does allow you to have some extra space in there. I did some LED lights inside there. I don't know how much I'm really going to use those things, but I can tell you after 1,000 miles of driving this thing, the trunk really is, it is what it is. It's just a trunk. The prop rod kit I just put on, and that's from Finish Line. and it's nice to be able to just prop the trunk open. That thing works real well. It's super simple design, but functional, and it does the job. So the rear of the car, I've got some Factory 5 overriders on there. I just, these are the Factory 5 LED brake lights, and I did actually add a plasma rod down below for an extra brake light. It's down here, and it's pretty well hidden, so you can't really see it. And when the brakes are engaged, it definitely helps having an extra light down there. I would probably go with the 12-inch plasma rod if I was gonna do it over. And originally I was gonna mount that up between the roll bars, and I couldn't come up with a good way to mount it, so it didn't look out of place. So that's about it for the rear of the car. Okay, let's talk about the interior of this car. One of the things I did splurge on the interior was doing a full leather interior. I ordered the hide off of eBay, and everything's matching. That's a leather piece in this car off the hide. I'll start from the top down. I've got your sun visors here from Factory 5. This mirror bracket here is from Darkwater Customs. I really like that because I didn't want to mount the mirror down onto the body. It's working really well. Side view mirrors are from Mark Breeze, and those are excellent quality. I really like having those. The wind wings, I picked these up from Finish Line, and they do have the Cobra logo down here. I don't know if you can see it down there. I think they're very similar to Factory 5s. They just don't say Factory 5 on them. Dash is GPS vintage gauges. I did do the Russ Thompson turn signal here, and that works really well. I'm glad I did that. My dash in this car is very simple. I didn't do a whole lot on it. I basically have a horn ignition and a light switch on it, and that's about it. One thing I did do on it that I would definitely recommend is the grab handle, and the grab handle's been great. People grab that every time they get in and out of your car, and it's nice for if a passenger wants to just hang on to it. Definitely would recommend a grab handle. I did a lower vintage bezel with the master disconnect switch and cup holders that are a little extra deep. They do allow full-size beverages to go in there, which is nice. It does have heated seats in here. The rear back here, I did the Mark Breeze storage cubby, which has been awesome. Really like having that in there. We use it all the time. I don't have a glove box in this car, so for me it was a no-brainer to do that. And you can throw some sweatshirts in there, whatever we need to. I use it all the time. It's been a super nice thing to put in your car. I did a 14-inch wide. You can do it whatever width you want, but 14 worked pretty well. I got a fire extinguisher. Hopefully I never have to use that thing. And down below the fire extinguisher, there's a USB charging port down there with a cigarette lighter adapter. So, you know, you can throw whatever you need to throw on there to charge. Seatbelts. So I did these STV Motorsports seatbelts. They're 2-inch wide. I really like them a lot. They're very comfortable around your shoulders. They're Camlock style, 5-point. I put some wristbands here, just some black wristbands I got off Amazon. Put them over the clasp there just to kind of protect it. A lot of times when people get in your car, the first thing they want to do is throw these over their shoulders. So that's one of the first things you tell them, how to put on the seatbelts. Don't burn your leg on the pipe, and don't grab the windshield. Those are like the three main things. But the Camlock styles are super nice. They're super easy to disconnect, super easy to put back on. So really happy with those. The e-brake. So that would be one thing on this car I'm not super stoked on. It does work. I got it adjusted so it holds the car, but I'm not real hip on the material they used on the actual e-brake mechanism. I probably this winter will do some type of e-stop modification and go with an e-stop kit. But take it for what it's worth. That's just my opinion on that. If you're building one of these, just keep that in mind. Floor mats. Those are Finish Line floor mats, but the Cobra logo, those are nice. And as far as door jambs are concerned, I did not put carpeting in my door jambs. I ended up just doing powder coating on them with a trim piece, and those have been working out pretty good. As far as door cards are concerned, those right there are the Cobra Herb door cards, and he does a really good job on those. I sent him my leather hide and he matched them up perfectly, so that worked out really well. All right, guys, so here's the foot box. Sorry for the lighting. It is what it is. So one thing about the foot box, so that gas pedal is an adjustable pedal from Russ Thompson. It works very well with the Mike Forte throttle linkage. I also put a dead pedal in here, and I tell you what, like, you know, some guys on the forums will say they don't like them. I really like having the dead pedal, and I put it just in front of the clutch. I don't know if you can tell, so I can kind of rest my foot on there and just rock it back and forth between the clutch and the dead pedal, and it's super great, man. I'm really happy I put that in so far. I did move the pedals all the way to the left, as you can see on the mounts, to give me a little more space in between my feet. I also put in a Willwood bias adjuster for the front and rear brake bias. That's been working pretty good. You know, you don't use them much once you get the brakes adjusted, but it is nice to have that to get the initial setup going. I also did footbox vents down there, if you can see that. So there's one of the vents down there, and there's the handle to pull it right there. So those are there, and that's about it for the footbox. Okay, so let's talk about engines. There's a lot of different engines you can put in these cars. I did research, and for my build, I narrowed it down to 3 engines. It was a 347, 427, or a Coyote. And the Coyote, great engine, don't get me wrong. After researching it more and looking at it, it just wasn't, I didn't like the way it looked in the car, the way it idles. There was just some things that I wasn't a fan of. So and like I said, it's a great engine. A lot of guys use them. Just for me, it wasn't what I wanted in my build. So then it was between the 347 and 427. And I just decided at that point, you know what, I'm gonna go in all 427, badge the car 427, and that's what I decided to do. So I started calling engine builders, got some input from a few independent guys throughout the country, called Blueprint as well. I know guys use Blueprint. For me, it's just, they were a little bit more of a mass-produced engine builder company, and I know guys have had success with them, but it just wasn't kind of what I wanted. I wanted to have a little more personal experience with an engine builder. So Ken Pike, who painted my car, recommended Elliot Franklin up in Grass Valley. He's like 45 minutes from me, so I went up there, visited Elliot, and saw his shop, and we hit it off, and at that point, it was a no-brainer for me. So Elliot, I told him, hey, I want to have a 427 this car, but I want it to be drivable. Can you build it with the least amount of horsepower? And he kind of chuckled and said, well, they're hard to make under 500 horsepower. You'll probably be around 520. He's built like 100 of these 427 setups here, and so that was it. So we decided to go with that. I was a little bit nervous because I was like, oh boy, I'm either going to love or hate this thing. And fortunately, because you hear some things on the forums about the 427s, or you can't drive them. They're hard to control. You're just not going to have a good experience with the motor. And that thankfully has not been the case with me. This engine's been super fun to drive. I think he cammed it right and set it up properly, so I can drive it like a grandma. 2,500 RPM shifts, or you hammer the throttle and you go in this thing 100%. It's a beast without a doubt. And you turn the key in this car, and it's a visceral machine. And it tells you, it hits you in the chest and says, hey, respect this car, because this thing can kill you without a doubt. And that's kind of how I wanted to have my build set up. I wanted to have this kind of visceral, raw, 427, and then also have it tameable. And I think Elliot hit it, he nailed it, and came up with a great compromise between the two, and it's been good so far. So I want to talk about the induction system I put on this. I looked at Sniper and Phytech, and there's a bunch of them out there now that guys are using, and I ended up going with the Edelbrock PF4 system. And there are some reasons I went with Edelbrock. I'll talk about that real quick. I like the way the PF4 system comes with the intake manifold, distributor, and throttle body, and it actually Comes with 8 injectors, and it is true multi-point fuel injection, which is nice. There's nothing, no computers or anything mounted on the throttle body. The ECU is mounted behind the dash away from the heat, which was another thing I liked. I think the Edelbrock's really well engineered. I think they just have done a good job with it. You know, honestly, at this point, I haven't done a whole lot to it. I basically wired it up, went through the wizard, set everything up, set my idle air control. I mean, my first start, it fired right up, and you know, I put it in fast mode for the first 500 miles. It progressively drove better and better, and then at 500 miles, I popped it down into slow mode, and that's all I've done at this point. Now, I will say I do get some decel popping at like 1500 RPMs and below. It's not enough to where it's bothered me that much to where I'm going to change it, and that's cool. It's kind of race car-ish. It doesn't bother me that much, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it be. I'm just enjoying and driving it right now. So I think it could probably be tuned out with the air fuel ratios, but at this point, I'm just going to leave it be and call it good. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and take you inside the engine compartment here. We'll take a peek and talk about everything. All right, so let's talk about the engine real fast here. Radiator, so the top radiator piece there is from Breeze. Kind of seals off the top and finishes off the top of the radiator. Also, the shroud is from Breeze as well. I did upgrade to a 3000 CFM Flexolite fan. That's not the factory 5 fan there. I wanted a little bit more cooling with the 427. And the cooling on this car has been very good. 185, 190 is about what this car runs, and no issues with the standard factory 5 radiator. And I just have a OEM water pump in this too, so nothing fancy going on there. Battery box from Breeze down there, moved to the front of the car. I did upgrade to the Canton 2-quart overflow just to have a little bit more overflow, and also did the Boyd cool pipes, radiator pipes, which are working out really well. I did triple CNC reservoirs for the clutch, front and rear brakes. That's been working out good, no issues there. Mike Forte, I did his throttle linkage setup here, and shine the light in there. Very good setup, no issues with that at all. It works really well, very smooth, and would highly recommend if you're doing a push rod engine to go ahead and look into Mike's setup. Fuel regulator, Aeromotive is what I've been using for all of my fuel pump, regulator, and filter, all Aeromotive. I also did a CDI box too, a Street Fire MSD box with my PF4 setup, and that's been working good. One thing on this car that I have had issues with, and I'll talk about that real quick, is just engine compartment heat and footbox heat. There's been a lot of it. When I first started driving this car, it was about 60 degrees out, and I didn't notice it much. And as it started getting warmer, I started noticing my footbox temperature going up, and finally I was like, man, this is freaking hot. My legs were almost getting like uncomfortably hot in shorts. So I did 4 things to help combat the heat, and I finally got it down to what I call like an acceptable level. The first thing I did was I talked about the 4-inch blower fans. So those are running, now they can just run when the engine's on. They do create a lot of airflow in the engine compartment, which has been great. Wrap my headers down there. You can see the header wrap with DEI titanium header wrap, and that's been very helpful. And then if you look down here, try to get the light down there for you. That heat shield is that sticky shield, and I put that all on the outside of the foot boxes, and that's been also helping as well. And then in the door jambs, I stuffed a bunch of 2-inch foam in there too, and that has also helped reduce a lot of the heat blowing through the door, which is another issue. So those 4 things, I've got the heat box under control now and in a better place with that. So that was one of the things I've been kind of fine tuning in and getting going. Okay, talk about power steering. I went with the Jones Racing power steering setup. I've got that from Gordon Levy. And so far, I've really enjoyed having power steering in this car. I know there's a bunch of debate on if you really need power steering in these cars. This setup by Gordon, it's all calibrated for the steering rack in this car for the right pressure, and it's been super, super awesome. It doesn't feel like the car oversteers. It feels very, very solid and very easy to steer, obviously in parking lots and everything. So no complaints about the Jones setup. And it also has a cooler with it too, which it might be overkill, but definitely doesn't hurt having that as well. Okay, one other thing I want to talk about is, I'll call this maybe like an epic fail. Footbox vents, not a lot of success with footbox vents. Anything over like 80 degrees, it just seems like it starts blowing hot air in the car. So I've tried insulated hoses, tried, cutting down on the engine compartment heat as possible, but you can see the hoses run right under the fenders there. They're on a 3-inch bilge blower. Let's see right there, you can see it. So it goes down into the footbox there. Not real happy with those. I mean, I don't know if they're really worthwhile putting in the car, but I would call that a failure at this point on my part. So hasn't been super successful on that. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but at this point, like I said, anything over like 80 degrees, it just starts blowing hot air in the down by your feet, and it's almost uncomfortable, to be honest with you. Starting from the front here. So this is the Jones Racing power steering cooler I was telling you about. There's the Boeing cool pipes. Very nice setup. I also added an extra bracket on there, which I believe I picked that up from Mark Breeze. Brakes. I didn't really talk about brakes much, so let me go into brakes real quick. So I have the Mustang GT brakes on this with the Power Stop drilled and slotted rotor kit. So I don't know if you can see that real quick here. They claim 30% better braking with this kit on there, and so far it's been fine for around street driving. No issues at all with the Power Stop kit and the Mustang brakes. So I have no idea how that compares to Willwood. I've never driven a car with Willwood, but so far at this point, zero issues with stopping. Koni shocks. We just got the factory Koni shocks on there. Let's see, moving along here, I went with the Champ 7-inch deep pan, which brings everything up nice inside the frames, which is good. For motor mounts, I don't know if you can see these, I ended up going with fixed motor mounts in this car. So those are fixed motor mounts, and that came per the request of Ken Pike, the painter. He just says it drops down the pipes better for better alignment on the side. So that's why, and so far no issues with the fixed mounts. There's the heat shield, sticky heat shield right there. You can see on the foot boxes on both sides there. And that wraps around right here inside as well. So that's been helping with a little bit of heat in the foot box. QuickTime bell housing. TKO600 transmission. I did use 3 spacers on here to get the drive shaft angle proper on this and get it correct. This is Forte's right here, hydraulic external clutch setup. I really like it a lot, and it's been working great. Once I got it dialed in, it works very well. I'm personally a fan of having an external slave. If this thing ever leaks, it's a 10-minute swap out. And there's nothing inside the bell housing to mess around with. So I'm a fan of the externals, just my opinion on that. But it's been working good. As far as, let's see here. So I got a drive shaft tube here from Metco. Put that on there just in case anything ever happened. See if you can see it there. If that thing ever let loose, obviously there's not much metal around you. That's where you sit right there. So safety reasons, I did that, which a lot of guys do. Rear IRS, that's been good so far. And like I said, just the Koni shocks, it drives real nice, for a short wheelbase car. I think the IRS is worth it at this point. Let me talk about one other thing too. So pipe hangers here. I was having a problem with my pipes sagging. So this rubber grommet that Gaslin sends would heat up, and it would start to just really wouldn't hold the pipe too well. So I ended up stiffening up. I went with a thicker piece of rubber. I put a piece of 040 behind there too. And it still allows some flexibility in the pipe, but it keeps them level. So they were dropping like 3/4 of an inch on me. And, you know, up to this point, it's been good. I haven't had any problems since I did that. And it still does allow some flexibility in the pipe, which is good. For fuel lines here, I use 3/8 Fergola PTFE lines for my entire run, front to rear for the return lines. You know, they some guys will run hard line to these braided lines. I just did a solid line front to rear. So far so good, no issues. These guys have a pretty good reputation for being pretty durable. So I'm assuming they'll probably be around longer than I will, but you know, not anticipating any problems with them. For my fuel filter, if you can see that here, let me get a light up there. So that right there is an Aeromotive spin-off fuel filter, which I like because they're easy to take off, and it's almost kind of like an oil filter. They just screw it off and put a new one back on there. So pretty easy to get to. And brake lines, I just did the nightcap copper lines with a shield on there, a little rock guard on there. So those have been good so far, no issues there. All right, let's talk about wheels real quick. I just did powder coated black. These are 17-inch Halibrands. Tires are the 255s? Yeah, 255 40/17s on the tires. They're the Nitto 555 G2s. So far, so good on those. I did do the V-Raptor, if you can see in here, the V-Raptor inner liners. I really like those a lot. They just kind of finish off the inside of the fender and give some really good protection in there. I have mud flaps on this car right now. I don't have any expel treatment on the paint. I was going to give it like 6 months before I considered doing that. And, you know, honestly, I might actually just leave these things on. They're not too noticeable, and they've been working really well just to keep the rear fenders protected. So rears, 315, 35/17s on the rear. And same thing, did the V-Raptor inner fender liner for the rear too. And like I said, it works really well. See if you can take a peek at that there. Would recommend it. That guy Shane makes a nice product, and he's selling them now, so you can definitely pick those up. Okay, wrapping things up. So that's 9818. Front to rear, hopefully you got a good idea what this car's about. I want to talk about the price real quick. I told you I'd go over that real fast. So pricing on this, just as a real quick breakdown. I did the complete kit. By the time you order all the goodies on there, IRS, dual roll bars, pay for shipping, tax, the whole 9 yards, $32,000 delivered to my door. Paint was by Ken Pike. Ken did a great job on the paint. He obviously knows what he's doing. I mean, he's been painting a lot of these. Great guy to deal with. Would highly recommend Ken. If you're on the West Coast or you're just looking for somebody to paint one of these, he's very familiar with these cars. He charges $11,000, and he does all the fitment, windshield fitment, sets the gaps, puts the hood on, the trunk. So that's all part of his process. Engine, transmission, bell housing, clutch, power steering, Jones Racing power steering, PF4 system, $21,000 for that. So that was the complete powertrain in this car. Miscellaneous parts, which includes like powder coating the wheels. I did all the tins in the car. If you're gonna do tins, do them all at one big batch. It was like a couple $100 to do everything in the car. So gas and pipes this also includes the price for the gas and pipes, about $4,000 in miscellaneous parts. So by the time I was out the door, registered, titled, signed, $68,000 total for the complete car, how it sits right here. So not cheap by all means. Do I have any regrets? No, zero regrets at this point. This is a great car to drive. I really had a great time building it. My dad worked on this car with me too, so I got some sentimental value attached to it because he came over and helped me with the build, which was awesome. A couple things I want to touch base on real quick is So the modifications you've seen on this car, a lot of them are taken from the factory 5 build threads. So I'm not taking credit for any of them. And I want to thank everybody for helping me who replied to PMs and followed my build thread along. You know who you are. I'm not going to name names because I'll probably end up forgetting somebody and I'll feel bad for doing that. But truly appreciate the help. I couldn't have done it without you because you get one of these cars delivered and you kind of you're starting out and you're a little overwhelmed, and having the support was very cool. So thank you again for that. And I'm not a mechanic by all means, I'm just a weekend guy, so this is the first car I've ever built from the chassis up. So take the build for what it's worth, it is what it is. Now, if you're thinking about building a car, and you're on the fence or you're just not sure about it, if you got the time, the finances set up, and you're willing to be challenged, I say, man, pull the trigger and do it. It's Factory 5 puts out a good product. This is a kit car. It's a custom built kit car. I don't have a problem saying that because that's really what it is. And I think you'll learn a lot. You'll have a great time building it, and they are a fun car to drive. I mean, I've had some fun times already with it, and 1,000 miles that I put on the road with it. Me and my wife go out, cruise around, great day night cars. It's like driving a race car. So back in 1965, and at the end of the day, whatever you build, if you turn the key and you fire that car up and it makes you feel good and it puts a smile on your face, then hey, mission accomplished. And that's kind of what it's all about. So I would not hesitate to do it again. Maybe a build 2 for me in the future, but not for a while. My wife she'd kill me right now if I built another car, but maybe down the road. Definitely would like to do another one. So that being said, if you see me at a Cars and Coffee or a car show, come by, say hi. Always like talking shop. Enjoy looking at people's builds, and be safe out there. Enjoy your cars, have fun, and we'll hopefully talk to you soon. Be well. Peace out.